Some people walk into a room and already know who isn't safe. They haven't spoken to anyone yet. They haven't heard a single word, but something in them has already finished the calculation. Most people call this intuition. Some call it sensitivity. Psychology has a different name for it, and a very different explanation for where it came from. Because people who can sense a room before they've even sat down didn't develop this ability by accident. They didn't develop it by choice either. They had to. Neuroscientist Stephen Porges spent decades studying how the nervous system detects threat. He called the process neuroception. It is why your body can tense before your mind has a reason. The body's ability to scan for danger below the level of conscious thought. Before the mind registers anything, the nervous system has already made a judgment. Safe, unsafe, somewhere in between. In most people, this system runs quietly in the background. In people who grew up in unpredictable environments, it was trained differently. It was trained hard. It was trained early. And it never fully stood down. You notice the pause before someone answers. You catch the half second where a smile doesn't reach the eyes. You feel the temperature of a room shift before a single word is spoken. You picked up something just now that the people around you completely missed. They think you're reading too much into things, but you're not reading too much. You're detecting details at a resolution most nervous systems were never calibrated to reach. And you have been doing it so long that it no longer feels like a skill. It just feels like the way the world works. This doesn't happen through thinking. It happens in the body first. A tightness in the chest when something doesn't add up. A pull toward the exit before the mind can explain why. A feeling that someone isn't telling the truth before a single inconsistency appears. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio called these somatic markers, the body storing emotional data that bypasses conscious processing entirely. You have always known something before you could explain it. That isn't anxiety. That is your nervous system doing precisely what it was built to do. There is a reason some people develop this and others don't. It doesn't come from personality. It comes from necessity. When you grow up in an environment where missing an emotional signal was expensive, where misjudging a room had real consequences, the nervous system adapts. It builds a more sensitive antenna. It learns to catch what other people don't even know they're broadcasting. What psychologists describe as traumatic intelligence isn't a wound dressed up as a strength. It is a genuine cognitive adaptation built over years of having to pay close attention in order to stay safe. Stop here for a moment, because there is something important that gets lost in how this ability is usually described. People who carry this kind of perceptiveness are often told they're paranoid, that they're suspicious without reason, that they create problems by seeing things that aren't there. You are not paranoid. You are not oversensitive. You are not reading too much into things. You are running a threat detection system that was built from years of necessary precision. The difference between those two things is not small. One is a flaw. The other is a survival architecture that worked. But here's what doesn't get said often enough. A system built for survival doesn't automatically know when survival is no longer the goal. You walk into rooms that are safe and the scan still runs. You sit across from people who mean you no harm and the antenna is still up. You cannot turn it off, not easily, not fully, not by deciding to. The same perceptiveness that protects you also exhausts you, because you are processing a level of social detail that most people around you aren't even aware exists. And you do it constantly, in every room, with almost every person, without being asked. That exhaustion is real, and it deserves to be named. Research on resilience in high adversity environments points to something that rarely makes it into the mainstream conversation. Some people who survive high adversity environments do not simply become weaker. They become more socially precise, not broken, recalibrated. The same experiences that made early life harder also built a quality of awareness that most people spend their entire lives trying to develop through practice. You already have it. You have had it for a long time. The question now is not how to get rid of it. The question is how to carry it without being carried by it. The person who scans a room before they've sat down looks paranoid. The one who senses a shift before it's spoken looks oversensitive. The one who knew something was wrong before anyone admitted it looks like they were looking for problems. But maybe what looks like suspicion is actually precision. Maybe what looks like sensitivity is a nervous system that was asked to do extraordinary work for a very long time, without rest. You still walk into rooms and feel it. The scan still runs, but now you know where it came from. And knowing where something came from is the first moment you get to decide what to do with it. You didn't develop this by accident. You didn't develop it by choice. You developed it because you had to. And that means it belongs to you now, not as a wound, as a tool. If this video names something you have felt your whole life but never had words for, share it with someone who carries the same thing quietly. Subscribe if you have always noticed what everyone else missed.